Thank you very much, Jeff, for having us today. I actually thought you'd have the chairman of Boda Boda Association. I would have been very glad to meet the Kenyans who are going through these very, very tough situations, especially in the specific industries. From the onset, Jeff, I have to say that I'm a very disappointed Kenyan and a leader, and especially a person who participated in a big way in selling a message to Kenyans, and especially Kenyans who really need to be supported through decision-making in terms of leadership. I've been speaking about this matter of fuel since 28th of February. And whatever is happening is not an emergency to Kenya. Kenya knew we will be in this kind of a situation from 28th of February. And I've actually been doing press conferences every week, calling upon the people in government to at least afford time to think about this very critical issue about fuel. But of course, they bought time up until yesterday. Even yesterday, I was with a part of your team, again challenging the government that when you have instruments of power, you cannot again continue promising the people, and especially when you have abundance of time. So what happened yesterday, Jeff, is that even by the time EPRA sent whatever they sent to the newsrooms, they were still consulting up to late in the night, that the government had actually not made up their mind on what would be the pump prices in Kenya. But to put it into context, number one, let us be a country that follows our laws. We all have given proposals, including today, which I will repeat here in this show. And I actually should start with them so that I come now to the specific one you've asked. In my interaction with the media today and yesterday, I challenged the government to do three things. One was to lower VAT in the intervening period up to 8%, but in the medium term to lower it much more to tax, to VAT exempt. On that 5% alone, the pump price would go down by around 9 shillings, as it was done this evening. But there are two other things, critical things that we must do, and underline must, that Kenya must do away with the 7 shillings fuel levy that was done by the government in the year 2024. So that is knocking again another 7 shillings. Jeff, there is something called Fuel Stabilization Fund in Kenya, paid for by Kenyans through PDL. It has close to 17 billion Kenya shillings. And that is the fund we use to give subsidies, or the government should use to smoothen and to give Kenyans reprieve at a time like this. They have only drawn in around 6 billion. I'm challenging them to draw in another 5 billion so that we give an extra subsidy of 12 shillings. In my calculation, which I did, and I hope you shared in your news, through my proposals, which are 3, we would reduce pump prices by 27 shillings by tomorrow morning. Because the choice we have to make, Jeff, is between making an adjustment that will spiral within our economy or then live with it. And there are many ramifications. We can choose to spend money. The proposal I'm giving will cost around 12 billion per month. The problem the world is facing and Kenya is facing is not long-term. But there are decisions we make today that will have long-term ramifications. Anytime you have adjustments upwards, let me use an example with my brother here. When you announce fares adjustments upwards, tell me when you ever saw a press conference, therefore, talking about downward trend because there is adjustment downwards.
Never.
Because upward prices are always sticky. So I'm challenging the government. We bite the bullet. Our economy can afford to actually chip in the 12 billion shillings so that we knock off 27 shillings. Why? On this other side, we then arrest a spiral towards all the inputs of production, from labor in terms of transportation. When you come to work as an agent of the economy, you spend money on fare. That is an input. So we cut off that. We knock off in terms of manufacturing. The cost of electricity, part of the component in Kenya is fuel. Why can't we spend this money to arrest a spiral that would be sticky to the economy? Okay. And that is my proposal.
Hold that thought. Albert Karagacha, let me ask you this as Matatu Owners Association. You've already raised your prices.
Yeah,
You've already increased your prices.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. The local Mwananchi, he's going to be suffering. Even though they've been reduced as of midnight tonight, your prices are still up there.
They're still up there because we've just got the information right now. And to us, what we are saying, we still demand more. Because if you go to the market, The commodities are still high. Go to the spares, they will still be the high. Go to the tires we are using, they are still high. So we still demand for more. The way Mheshimiwa has said, I think the government need to go deeper into what has come up about the issue of the fuel to see, because if you go to other countries, they have reserve. When you come to Kenya, there is no reserve. We need to think about the reserve for maybe the next 6 months, 9 months. We should not condemn about the issue of Iran. We could be ahead of Iran. So to us, we still demand more.
Engineer, with the breaking news, in case people are just joining us right now, what you just told us a moment ago, could you just repeat what EPRA, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, has just announced tonight?
Yes, to our viewers, we just reduced the prices of super petrol, which we call premium motor spirit, by another 9 shillings and 37 cents, which effectively now brings the price from 206 to 197. And then we have also reduced the price of diesel from 206.84 by another 10 shillings to 196. The reason why we've done that is because we have a new legal notice that has just been published in line with His Excellency's directive, the President of the Republic, that VAT on fuel reduces from 13%, where it was left yesterday, by legal notice number 69. So we have legal notice now number 70, which has effectively brought it down to 8%. Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick. Can the president just make an announcement just arbitrarily like that, or does it have to go through Parliament?
Let me answer it in 2 ways, Jeff. One playbook that you must have mastered from this government is that when you run out of options for people to celebrate you, you actually forcibly create a situation. And this government's playbook is very direct. You don't need to be an expert or to have been very close to them to see that you make things so bad so that when you make them a little bit better, then you expect people to celebrate you. You know that rich man in the village who would come and shoot a villager by the foot and then call a harabe in the village, and they appear. The same person who shot the young man, and tells the villagers, I'll take up this bill out of the money you've contributed, the balance, I'm the one to pay. And then you want people to celebrate you. First of all, you are the cause. You are the person who shot this young man. And secondly, even if you pay the bill, you still leave them with the wood. That is the playbook that this government plays with. Because we have had time to do all these adjustments, but we never did. But let me now come to your question. The changes in terms of, if you read the section 6 of the VAT Act, and especially part 1 and 2, it is very clear that the minister may actually give a proclamation through a gazette notice varying VAT, but there is a rider, only up to 25% of the amount of consideration. So the VAT in Kenya now, the composition of the fuel, and I'll be using petrol for in this conversation, is approximately 25 shillings in terms of VAT. So you can only give a proclamation as a minister to the extent of a quarter of that. Additionally, if you have to do more than that, then there has to be a policy emanating from the National Treasury itself. Then it comes to Parliament, so that we amend the VAT Act. So as it starts now, the roadside declaration that was done today, number one, is a total show of ineptitude. One, because we had time to do the right thing, but number two, it is actually not provided for anywhere. So I challenge even my brother here to tell Kenyans, if you have a fuel dealer tomorrow, you'll be selling downward of the VAT, the one you have read today here. What legal instrument will the guy, is the dealer going to request for the refund? Because as it is now, until we change the law, you can only vary up to 25% of the VAT of any element. Secondly, I am wondering what actually my brother is doing, with all due respect and humbly. Why? He's representing a very fundamental organ here called EPRA. But who sets the fuel prices in Kenya as we saw today? Who sets? What you've read today, is it EPRA that set it? Jeff? Is it EPRA?
It doesn't
It's
seem
a
like-
roadside declaration.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is that we must not continue to expose, especially the leadership, to expose the ineptitude in terms of leadership to the Kenyan people. And especially when we had all the time over 40 days to do the right thing.
Engineer, you've just been challenged right there.
Yeah.
You've just been challenged.
Yeah, we are creatures of the law ourselves, and whatever we put in our pricing is guided by law. Starting